Hi there, Equinox owners. Today in your 2014 Chevrolet Equinox, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Roadmaster's BrakeMaster supplemental braking system. Your supplemental braking system is one of 5 main components you'll need when flat towing your vehicle. In addition to your supplemental braking system, you'll need your tow bar, which is the connection between your motor home and your vehicle, your safety cables, which is a supplemental connection in addition to your tow bar, your base plate, which provides the connection point for your tow bar on your vehicle, and lastly, your diode wiring, which takes all the lighting signals from your motorhome and transfers them to the lights at the back of the vehicle so people around you know your intentions when going down the road. This is what our BrakeMaster system looks like when it's installed. Whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome, the air brakes will supply air to the system, which will apply the brake pedal here in the vehicle, just like this. This is a truly proportional braking system that is specifically designed to work with motorhomes that have air brakes. Whenever you press your brakes in the motorhome, the metered air is then sent back here to the actuating cylinder on the pedal, which applies it. And what's nice about this is that the harder you hit the brakes in your motorhome, the harder the brakes are going to apply in your vehicle. And vice versa, if you hit your brakes softly in the motorhome, they're going to apply softly here in the vehicle. This is going to give you very smooth braking that's going to feel natural when driving. Now, unlike other braking systems which use an anchor point at the firewall, this one clamps around the brake pedal at the end of the piston rod. At the other end of our cylinder, we have an anchor point attached to our seat bracket, which anchors it to the floor. You'll want to keep in mind that the seat bracket does not come included with your braking system, and you'll need to purchase it. We have them here available at etrailer.com that are specifically designed to work with your Equinox. With this style of braking system, you will need to set it up and remove it each time you want to use your vehicle. We've currently got it in our flat tow setup where it's anchored at the back and connected to our pedal, and we've got our air line connected. But when you're ready to drive your vehicle, you'll want to disconnect it from the quick connect port here. Pull the pin here at the top and release the pedal. And then here at the back on our anchor point, you'll want to pull the pin, and we can now take our cylinder out and store it at the back of the vehicle until we're ready to use it again. Now, there are other braking systems out there that work very similarly but don't require you to remove and add a cylinder like this, such as Demco's Air Force One. That's one of my highest recommended braking systems if you have air brakes on your motorhome, just because it's going to be installed and ready to use whenever you need it, and there's no reason for you to ever have to take anything in or out. Along with your braking system, you'll receive a breakaway switch, which is installed at the front of the vehicle, and in the event of a catastrophic disconnect, the cable will pull the pin, which will activate our actuating cylinder on our brake pedal, applying the brake to help our vehicle come to a safe stop. Now, you might be wondering, well, do I even need a braking system? And the answer is yes. Not only is it required in all states, but let me give you a scenario of why it's important. If you're in a mountainous region where it's very hilly and you're coming down a long grade hill where you're going down, the weight of your vehicle is pushing on the back of your motorhome, and your motorhome's brakes are doing all the work. This could potentially cause the motorhome's brakes to overheat, which would cause the braking power to fade over time, which would diminish the braking power the longer you went down that hill. This could potentially lead to unsafe braking, but by applying a braking system here in our vehicle, we've now got the vehicle braking in addition to our motorhome, which takes all that extra weight off the back of our motorhome, allowing us to go down safely, distributing that braking power evenly, which minimizes the amount of heat that's going to build on the brakes. There's also a monitor light installed in your RV, so whenever you're pressing the brake, the light will come on when the brake pedal is physically being depressed inside your vehicle. So this way you can be sure that when you've pressed the brake here, you know the brakes are being applied in your vehicle. We'll begin our installation by installing all the major components and getting them mounted up. The first component we're going to mount is our reservoir cylinder, which we're going to mount under the hood on the passenger side, and the opening here between your air filter and your air plenum. We use the included self-tapping screws and hose clamp style brackets to get it mounted up, placing one towards the top and one a little bit further down. Want to make sure that it's nice and solid like we have there. And you also want to make sure that your ends are pointing towards the center of the vehicle and that you can get to them, because this is where we're going to be attaching hoses to. Now, you will notice that it does stick up a little bit above the plane here, so you do want to check yours to make sure it's not sticking up too high to where it's going to hit the hood. But ours is sticking up pretty good, and we still clear just fine. At the front, we mounted our air inlet from our motorhome, and we attached this to the bracket for our 6-pole connector. We just used a small piece of metal and just drilled a couple holes and then use the included hardware to mount it to that, and then use the other piece of that metal there to attach it to our 6-pole bracket. Next to that, on the other side, you'll see our breakaway switch, and we mounted that similarly. We used the L bracket that came in our baseplate kit and attached it to the metal bracket for our 6-pole. It does seem like it sticks out a little far, but if you use nylon lock nuts, you can tighten it down until it's snug, but still has a little bit of movement, and then it can push out of the way when you're not using it. Next, we'll mount our actuating cylinder, and this will mount to a special seat bracket that is designed specifically for your Equinox. Now, this seat bracket doesn't come included with your braking system. You do need to purchase it separately because the braking system kit doesn't know which vehicle you're going to be installing it on. So this one is specific for your Equinox. It mounts underneath the seat bracket with the included hardware that comes with the seat bracket. The mounting post here does come with your braking system, and you just bolt it to your seat adapter once you've got that bracket installed. The actuating cylinder attaches just using the pin here that comes in your kit. The other end will clamp around your brake pedal. To clamp it, you want to release it there, and that will allow you to open it up, slide it over your pedal, squeeze it together, push the clip back in place, and then secure it with the small pin here. Next to your actuating cylinder, we're going to want to mount the quick connect bracket for our air line. This just uses 2 bolts and nuts that come included with your kit. We just drilled out the holes using the bracket as a template and then bolted it onto the under panel here. Your actuating cylinder will plug into this. You can see there it disconnects, and then it just plugs in whenever you're ready to use it. We'll now begin routing our air line and wiring. And some of that is going to have to run through the firewall to go from the outside into the inside. There's a grommet located next to your parking brake pedal and then straight up. It's up pretty high, so you're going to have to reach up in there. It is a little difficult to see, but you'll see a large harness going into it, and you'll feel rubber around it, and you'll poke through there. Real quick before we go outside, I want to point out the brake light switch. The brake light switch is not part of your kit, but will be necessary if you want the monitor light to work properly. Your brake light switch installs onto your brake pedal, and it has 2 wires coming off of it. Those wires are simply in and out, and we're going to be wiring power to one, and the other end connects to our monitor wire. You can see here these are the wires that we routed through the grommet. The grommet is located down behind the fuse box here on the driver's side. If you look in from behind the fuse box from the passenger side going this way, kind of diagonally behind it, you can see the grommet. Here you can see the airline hose and 2 black wires. Both of those will route through the firewall towards the inside. The 2 black wires will connect to your stoplight switch. One of them, when it comes out, we hooked it to our fuse harness to get power. The other one goes to the front and is going to give us a small female bullet connector that we'll use for our monitor light. The air line routes inside and goes to the L bracket quick connect for our actuating cylinder. And the other end routes here, across the front, over to our reservoir. The other end of our fuse harness attaches to our battery positive. In addition to the black wire from the brake light switch, we also took one of the wires coming from our breakaway switch and routed it to that same harness because our breakaway switch also needs power. You can see that here. There's our black wire coming from our stoplight switch, and here's a red wire that we used from our kit to extend over to our breakaway switch. The other end of your breakaway switch wire is going to route up and connect to one of the black wires on our reservoir cylinder. The other black wire we just need to route to ground, and all we did for that is we just routed it right over here to the other side of the cylinder, crimped on one of the ring terminals that come in our kit, and then used a self-tapping screw to secure it to the frame to get that ground. To finish our airline connection on our vehicle, we'll also need to take the other fitting here, and this is going to run down to the fitting at the front of the vehicle, which is a male quick connect. You can see it going into the back of our connector here. We talked earlier about the 2 black wires coming out of our stoplight switch. One of them went to the fuse harness. The other black wire has the female bullet connector on it here, And you want to route that to where it's next to your 6-pole connector, because you're going to have to connect this to your motorhome just like you do with the rest of your connections. We're now at the back of our motorhome. There's a couple of things we're going to need to mount on our motorhome as well. We need to put the female airline quick connect on the back of our motorhome. And you will notice in your kit you get 2 female quick connects. You saw the other one inside the vehicle where our actuating cylinder connected. The ones that go outside the vehicle have these black rubber caps on them to help keep out moisture. The one that doesn't have that cap is the one that's going to be inside the vehicle. The airline here then routes from our quick connect up to the metered air port on our motorhome. Now this is going to vary depending on your motorhome. Different manufacturers use different brake relay valves, so they may not look exactly like the one that we have here. We also routed the wire for our monitor light. This looks just like the one that we did on our motorhome, except for this one is significantly longer because your motorhome's quite a bit longer, so you need that extra length to get it routed to the front. You can see here we use the T to tap into our metered air. When tapping into your metered air, I would recommend first that you remove all the air from your motorhome. An easy way to do this is while the motorhome is off, just pump the brake pedal until all the air is exhausted. Then you can come down and disconnect the hose, have somebody start the motorhome and see if air comes out right away. If air doesn't come out right away, then let air pressure build up a little bit and have the extra person press the brake pedal. If air comes out of the hose, when your assistant presses on the brake pedal, you've chosen the right hose. You'll then want to tap into it. This is the airline that came from our fitting at the back of the motorhome. Now this doesn't come included with our kit. We used a T-fitting due to the motorhome components we have here. Sometimes you do need to purchase additional components in order to tap into your brake system properly. We have T's available here at etrailer.com in various sizes to match your motorhome. Your kit does, however, come with fittings that will thread into your relay block, but if you don't have any openings, like ours here, we have no open fittings, so we weren't able to thread into it, you will need a T in order to tap into it. The black wire that we routed up to the front, we then routed inside through the firewall. It may be necessary to drill a hole in the firewall and then seal it up with silicone once you pass the wire through. That'll connect to the back side of our monitor light, which has 2 wires coming out of it, a red and a white. The red wire attaches to the black wire that we routed up, and the white wire simply just goes to ground. It may be necessary to extend the white wire to a ground location for you to make that connection. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's BrakeMaster supplemental braking system on our 2014 Chevrolet Equinox.